Out at Shasta College, it's the end of the summer is winding down. Maybe these fires will wind down with it. Hope you're all doing well. Hope your weekend was interesting. We got Labor Day weekend coming up. That always signifies the end of summer vacay. Summer doesn't officially end for another month. But here we are, smoky and not as hot. Hope you guys are safe where you are. You're not having to evacuate because a lot of people are having to do that. Hope you guys are staying safe from this COVID issue, and because we've got lots to do. And this week, we're going to dedicate it the entire week to Shakespeare. In the discussions, which I haven't looked at yet, I ask you, what's your relationship with Shakespeare? Do you have one? Most students who went through high school know some rudimentary Shakespeare, mostly Romeo and Juliet. And they probably dread looking at it and hearing it. But let me tell you, Shakespeare is the holy truth. And once you get into the plays in a deep manner, you'll never be the same again. So I've posted in modules, you'll see it, 3 different Hamlets. There's been many Hamlets over the years. I just chose 3 at sort of random from different eras, different mediums. One is, maybe you never heard of him. He's an old actor from the olden days, 1964, Richard Burton. Probably one of the most famous Hamlets in the history of Hamlet. You tell me what you think of his soliloquy of to be and not to be. I have them all doing the same soliloquy, which is essentially a monologue directly to the audience. What Shakespeare did in those days, he would have the actor do an inner monologue that only he is hearing, but also he's saying it to the audience. But the other actors on stage aren't part of it. So Shakespeare is sharing Hamlet's thoughts, inner thoughts, to the audience, like a novelist would. That was a radical thing in the day and a brave choice. And there's many soliloquies in Hamlet, and most of his plays have those where they directly address the audience. And then when they are done, the audience isn't there anymore. The fourth wall comes up. Whenever you hear anybody saying they're breaking the fourth wall is the audience. The 3 walls are on stage. What's behind the actor, what's on side of the actor, what's on that side of the actor, that's 3 walls. Well, where's the 4th wall? Well, it's not there, folks. It's an imaginary wall in front of the actors. And most plays, the actors are not supposed to what they call break the 4th wall, meaning do not address the audience. Don't even look out into the audience. Maybe you've done a play. I've done several, and it's hard not to look out in the audience. So when you're training as an actor, you're trained to look past the audience, because nothing's worse than looking out into the audience and you catch somebody and it throws you off. And there's lots of lights on stage, so the audience is essentially in dark anyway, but sometimes you see movement. You see people fidgeting, coughing. It's distracting. As a trained actor, you're trained to tune all that out. Now, when you break the 4th wall, you're inviting the audience in as an intimate part of your story. And it's okay to look down and engage them, but it can throw you off your game. Be careful. And so that was a radical change in theater in Shakespeare's day, in Shakespeare's time. His theater is very popular. He actually made money. Had a nice house out in the countryside. Built a theater called the Globe Theater. It's still there. It burned down many years ago, but they've rebuilt it to the exact specifications of Shakespeare's time. And if you have your book yet, it's been 3 weeks, folks. You should have it. If you go to page 23, you'll see a picture of the old globe. And now they just rebuilt it. This one stood for, it burned down about 1630, and they rebuilt it to new specifications, new building materials, but that's what it looks like now. When you go to the old globe, and I hope you do one day, if you ever get to London after this pandemic, go see a Shakespeare play, whether you like Shakespeare or not, you will have a great experience. You don't have to understand Shakespeare to understand it when you see it live. Reading it's different. Seeing it live with actors bringing their full emotions and their range, or their vocal emotions and their body motions, and they're telling the story with lighting, sound, fury, music. It opens up a whole nother world. And you will be shocked how you can get sucked into it and believe it. And you don't have to understand all the words, because if the actors are any good, they will make you understand their meaning behind the words, the poetry, if they're good. So, you got to have the book by now. It's been 3 weeks. You should all have it. I want you to go to page 27, and that's where you'll do your research on some Shakespeare, plus the videos I'm going to make you watch. Hopefully you'll watch them. And before I go too much into the detail what's in the book, please, Shakespeare starts on 27 and goes to the end. It's just 2-3 pages long, and there's examples. A conversation with Ophelia and Hamlet. If you don't know who Ophelia is, she's the young woman who's in love with Hamlet. But after his father is murdered, Hamlet feigns insanity so he can find the person who murdered his father. In the meantime, he has to reject Ophelia, and she loses her mind and commits suicide over this fallen love. This is called the tragedy of Hamlet. Folks, everybody dies in it. The good and the bad. Remember what I told you last week, what tragedy is? Good people, bad things happening to good people. Hamlet, Ophelia, they're good people. They get caught up in the murder, and they all pay the price. So there's examples of the dialogue with her, so you'll see what that looks like. I mostly wanted you guys to look at Hamlet. I will post some other stuff. King Lear, perhaps, and perhaps Othello. Give you a good rounded education in Shakespeare. Macbeth, one of my favorites. I'll keep showing examples in modules. It's up to you if you want to watch them or not. That's your second essay. I won't tell you what it is yet, but you'll be writing an essay. I won't sign it till the end of the week because you're just handed in your first ones yesterday, and I haven't started grading them yet. That's my job this week. Pay attention to my comments, because that's how you can write a better essay next time. And have patience on that. Don't bother me about when the grade's coming in. There's a lot of you, and I have 4 other classes. No excuses, but it's a lot of grading. So please have some patience. I'm on it. Another thing I wanted to talk about real briefly before we talk about Shakespeare a little bit more is Some of you seem to be having some difficulties with the journal, understanding what it is. I did print out a sample, what it should look like. That's somebody else's journal. Doesn't mean your journal has to look like that. That's just an example of a pretty good journal someone gave me. It blocked their names out to protect the innocent. And the journal is simply a weekly journal, or could be twice weekly. But you should take notes of what's going on during the week, like right now. What do we do on Tuesday? Well, you listen to my lecture. You watch the Hamlet videos, hopefully. You're reading the book, hopefully attention. And you're present. We're not in class together. I'm not taking roll call. I'm not pointing at you in the class and asking you to discuss your relationship with Hamlet or Shakespeare. The journal is my way of saying that you're paying attention and you got something out of the class. Now, I suggest you make a weekly entrance, or you'll forget, just a paragraph of what we did that week, what you did, what you did in your paper. What did you read? What did you see? What did you get out of it? And that's important. Did you learn anything out of it? Did any of it mean anything at all? Are you getting anything out of these lectures? I know we're just 3 weeks in, but this is how it's going to be till almost Christmas. So that's the reflection part, what you're learning out of it. It lets me know that you are learning. It's just not recitation of what went on that week, but what did you get out of it? Just a sentence or two. That's all. It's brief. The semester's 17 weeks, and so there should be 17 entries. Week 1, week 2, week 3, etc., etc. If you missed a day or a week, or you got ill, or you're on a trip, or you're getting married, or you're having a baby, or you're in a car wreck, whatever, say I missed it. Let me know you missed it. Don't try to fake your way through it. Now, if you missed many, what's many? 4 or 5 weeks, 4 or 5 entries, you're going to lose points. You don't want to do that. Do your best to stay in school, to pay attention. I know it's all online. We're not in the classroom together. Think about all the gas you're saving. But you're going to be doing plenty of stuff on the computer. Normally, say, if we were in the classroom, we'd be showing you clips from these films, and we'd be watching some of these documentaries together, but you're having to do that on your own. You're in college now. I believe you could do it. You have the discipline. Take a moment. Break away from whatever it is you're doing, your job or your family or screaming kids that need their dinner. Feed them, and then go off and watch a video about Hamlet. It's a learning process, and knowledge is power, and you want to be powerful, don't you? So that's what I expect on the journal. Now, it's not due to the last week, so you just save it in a file, and you upload it in a Word doc or a PDF, I don't care, at the end of the semester. That's it. When we do these essays, there's going to be a quiz, not for a while, so don't worry about that. There's going to be a final research paper, not for a while, so don't worry about that. And then your discussions. And I look at those. If I don't see you participating, I put a little check by your name, not participating. Pipe in on the discussions and not just say, hey, I agree with you. Explain. What's your relationship with Shakespeare? Say something, a couple sentences. It's called a discussion. That's what makes it a discussion. I go through it every week, and I see who's participating, and I see who aren't. And those who aren't get a little check by their name, and that comes off on your participation. So please do participate as if we're in the classroom. So what you're going to find out about these essays, once I start grading them, is I believe I want to read your thoughts and opinions and analysis on the topic. Usually the documentary I assign you. I don't really want you to go to Wikipedia and Google it and give me a research paper about. That's not what I'm asking. I'm asking for your analysis, your critical analysis. Critical thinking is really important when it comes to understanding material. Clicking on Wikipedia and copying and pasting material from there is not understanding anything. It's understanding how to click on Wikipedia and copy and pasting, or other sources. Doing research on something is great. Try to figure out what is Hamlet about. I expect you to do some research. If not, then you're not putting in the full measure. I'll see it. It'll show. Go deep. That's all I'm looking for, is you guys to go deep on these analysis, critical analysis. There's nothing wrong with the word critical. Maybe it has been in your lifetime. People are critical over whatever. Everybody's critical. That's not what this is. Criticism is a healthy thing when it comes to being creative. And you have to be able to take criticism. Whatever you're trying to do in your life, you're going to be able to take criticism and how to learn from it. So, but on the other hand, I'm not asking your personal likes or dislikes. So I assign you a documentary to watch, like on Martin Luther, and I don't expect you to go, I don't like it, or I don't like him, or I don't like what the movie. I'm not asking for that. I'm asking you to look at what you saw in the movie, analyze the man. Why was he important? Why does he matter? That's all these essays are going to be about. I'm going to keep hammering on that. Why do these people matter? And here we are 500 years later, and they still matter. You might not know they matter, but they do. And hopefully maybe you'll get that sense how important they are through this class. So, Shakespeare was writing in Elizabethan era of England. Queen Elizabeth was the queen. And it was challenging times, but it was successful times when it comes to the culture was changing all around in Europe. That's just when the Renaissance. I have these flies all up. Maybe you're having flies in your house too. I got 3,000 flies in here. Ugh, driving me crazy. Sorry. The Renaissance is coming on strong. Shakespeare is a huge part of that Renaissance. For the first time in the history of the world, people have leisure time to go take a play in. They're just not busy farming or trying to make a living or fighting a war somewhere. Of course, those things were always going on anyway. But they're taking a moment, taking a break from the times they're living in, and they're trying to enjoy life. And Shakespeare provided a huge enjoyment factor. It wasn't all tragedy. He did comedies, Midsummer's Night's Dream. They're not my favorites, but they're clever and entertaining. And every once in a while, you need, for every Macbeth and King Lear, you need a Midsummer's Night's Dream, or all you need those to cleanse your palate. Just like right now, I don't know what kind of movies you guys watch. I watch all sorts, from heavy dramas to lightweight comedies, foreign films. And each supplies a different need in me for that moment. Sometimes you're not in the mood for the heavy stuff. Sometimes you just want to sit there and watch some lightweight comedy. That's fine. That's what they're there for. Same thing with Shakespeare. Doesn't all have to be tragic of when everybody dies, like in Romeo and Juliet or Hamlet or Macbeth or King Lear. They're all dead. Some good people too, not just the bad ones. You see the difference now in movies in Hollywood. Let's say you guys like movies, perhaps, and you're watching the new X-Men or the new Spider-Man, whatever. They never die. The good people don't die. Only the villains die. Well, in Shakespeare's time, what price is paid if only the bad die? It's not realistic, right? Because good people die all the time. Look what just happened in Afghanistan. You don't think some good people died in the last 2 weeks of trying to evacuate that country? A lot of innocent people, good people, along with some bad people. Tragic, horrifying. That's real life, folks. Batman surviving, no matter how many times the Joker tries to kill him, isn't real. I don't want to break that to you, but there is no such thing as Wonder Woman. Sorry. We're all fallible. And that's the beautiful thing about Shakespeare. He writes about the good and the bad in all of us, and that's why we relate to it. Because sometimes we get greedy, we're not so good. Other times, we're awesome. And Shakespeare understood the human condition, and he was holding up a mirror to who we are. And that's why it was important, is important. And hopefully, you'll find that out by your readings and the documentaries I'm asking you to watch. So, in the book on page 27, talks about Elizabethan times and what the times are like. It gives you content, not just words or me barking language at you. It puts a historical content text onto who Shakespeare was and how he was writing these incredible characters, these incredible Elizabethan dramas in a time where there was no electricity, no Snapchat, no Instagram, no Facebook. The social network was the theater. People met there, they ate there, they had some drinks together, and they watched Shakespeare. And it was rowdy. The audience would throw things at the actors, they'd participate on stage. And if it would rain, they'd get wet because there was no roof. And so they're all in there with their hoods on because they're getting rained on. And that added to the drama of it all. They say Hamlet's perhaps one of his most quoted plays. Perhaps. It's got a lot of famous quotes. You probably know not half the quotes that are from there, but you say them yourself. Shakespeare has inserted itself into our everyday speech. And when you start discovering Shakespeare, you'll see it, you'll hear it. And he was the one who wrote it first. The first person to ever say that. So please get the textbook by now. And after you read those chapters, I want you guys to get into the next one. It's called Book 4, Faith, Reason, and the Power in Early Modern World. We're getting into the early modern times. We're getting into Renaissance artists, philosophers, humanism. You think, well, what's that? Well, it's embracing our humanism, not gods in the sky, like religion or the Greek mythology, which all based on something that was outside of humans, something bigger than humans. Now we're starting to look at ourselves in the mirror down here. And then we'll be talking about how Catholics had to change. This is what's coming up next. And the artwork, the incredible artwork. Maybe you guys like art, because we're going to get into that later. Not this week. This week is all about the art of William Shakespeare. And I hope you guys enjoy it. Hope you get something out of it. Let me know. If you have any issues, you know how to get a hold of me. Text me or email me. I'm pretty quick on response. I look forward to reading your essays. Believe it or not, I do. And also, believe this or not, I learn a lot from what you guys give me. I'm just not here by myself, although I am here by myself. We're in this together. We're taking this journey into the humanities together. And we're just starting. So come along. Enjoy the ride.